how to create a sets, reps and loading scheme. Entering sets, reps and loads is time consuming and boring. Whether you use paper, Excel or online tools to design your clients' or athletes' programs. When creating a program, you have to enter every load, every rep, for every set, for every exercise, for every workout in the entire program. There is a faster and easier way where you create a reusable scheme and let the software do all the work. A scheme is a sets, reps and load template. Because the same sets and reps and loading schemes are used frequently, it is significantly more convenient to create a scheme once and reuse it as needed. A scheme can be as simple or as complicated as you like. Let's create a simple scheme. The scheme is going to be for a beginner who's looking for hypertrophy. 1 rep max is unknown, so we're going to start with relatively light weights. The scheme will consist of 3 sets of 10 reps with a linear load progression. Each time the workout is repeated, the load will increase. Naming the scheme. You can call the scheme anything you like. We use a combination of sets and reps just to make it easier for us to find. The category is just a filter to help you find your scheme. You can create your own categories by typing it into the category field. There are some default categories, but you don't have to use them. We'll leave the percentage switch off because we're not going to use 1 rep max to calculate the loads. The number of cycles represents how many times you want to repeat a specific workout in the scheme. Before we decide on how many cycles we need in our scheme, we need to explain how the automated load increments work. Every time a scheme is repeated in your program, the load will increase by a fixed increment, which is set in the exercise settings. Let's say the scheme has 2 cycles, then in your program for a given exercise, the load would automatically increase every 2 cycles. Being able to manipulate the scheme cycles and the program cycles gives the trainer the ability to break away from the standard straight sets and linear progression. In our case, we are using linear progression, so we do want the load to increase each workout. So our scheme only needs 1 cycle. For another example of how it works, let's say we have the same program, but this time instead of increasing the load every workout, we're going to increase the reps by 2. And when we reach 16 reps, the next workout we're going to drop the reps back down to 10 and we're going to increase the load. This scheme would require 4 cycles. So the first time the client does the workout, he'd do 3 by 10. The second time he'll do 3 sets by 12. The third time he'll do 3 sets by 14, and the fourth time he'll do 3 sets by 16. And then when we get to the 5th one, the reps are going to drop back down to 10, so he'll do 3 by 10, but the load will increase automatically. Let's get back to our original scenario where we only need 1 cycle and input it into our scheme. We can add the sets, then we can enter the reps and RPE. Now we can use it in a program. This program will run for 8 cycles. We'll add an exercise, let's say bench press. Now you can see all the cycles are blank. We need to apply the scheme to the exercise. To do this, we need to go into exercise settings. Before we apply the scheme, let's set up the client's initial load and the load increments. For this client, we're going to start the load pretty light, so we're going to start at 20 kilos. The load increment is basically how much we want the load to increase by each week. However, this is often determined by what is the smallest plate you have available. In our gym, the smallest plate is 1.25 kilos, so the smallest load increment we can have is 2.5 kilos. Next, we're going to select the scheme that we want to apply, so we'll go into the scheme menu. We'll select the scheme that we want. We'll review the scheme to see if it's actually what we want. Then we select it. The software will do its thing. It'll enter all the sets and reps and calculate all the loads for the entire 8 cycles. Even though this example is of a relatively simple scheme, it still saves the coach or trainer a lot of time when it comes down to inputting that data into their client's program. Thanks for your time. Next time we're going to do something a little bit more complicated. We're going to use some percentages. So subscribe to the channel and click on the notification so you don't miss out on that one.